What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to our playoff preview. I think I've been doing a pretty good job of covering all the things that have been happening in the playoffs. These things may not get the most views on my channel, I understand that, but I said I was going to do it, so I'm going to do it. Quick reminder, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every comment on my YouTube channel so far, and in pretty decent depth, honestly, whenever I do it. So make sure you do it, because I'm going to keep on doing it. But anyway, we had two teams get eliminated last night, which means we have a new playoff matchup to talk about. So we got the Knicks, and we got the Pacers going up against each other in the next round, so I want to stop and talk about it. And what better way to talk about it than to go back to this spreadsheet that I built in 10 minutes so that I could point at faces and things on the screen so I don't have to just talk into this camera. Is that too much fourth wall breaking for this? Is that even a fourth wall break if it's not a movie or like a TV show? I don't know how that stuff works. But anyway, this series really interests me from a coaching perspective. I think this is a real game of chess that can take place. And here's the reason why I think it. We're going to start off very broad. Knicks, very passionate offensive rebounding team. Knicks, very passionate transition team. Those two things usually can't coexist against each other, right? Because if a team's going to go in offensive rebound, right, against a team that's going to get out in transition, then, well, right, something's got to give. They're going to offensive rebound, right? They got guys leaking out because they're trying to get in transition. They might get easy buckets. But if they're all crashing and they do happen to get the rebound, easy transition buckets. Which one's going to give first? I don't know. I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch in this series. Because if we look at things from like a half-court perspective, right? Let's start out at the center position because I think that's the most interesting matchup. The Knicks have been doing a really good job of like gang rebounding with these dudes. They've been doing a pretty solid job out on the perimeter against Embiid. But Miles Turner's a different beast, mostly because he can actually move a little bit right now, unlike Embiid. So Miles Turner loves to work on the perimeter. What's going to happen when these guys get taken out of the post and they lose a little bit of post defense? Because the Pacers made it very clear that they're willing to go to like that pick and roll with Halliburton and Siakam. And what's going to happen is either Halliburton's going to attack because you came over the screen. He's going to dump it off to the short roll to Siakam, and then he's going to be able to make a decision. And ideally what they want is that Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson comes over to help while Miles Turner's in the opposite corner, and they can either attack the hoop because these guys didn't help over hard enough, or hit Miles Turner in the corner. I'll help demonstrate this here a little bit. I'm bringing out the trusty whiteboard and everything. Get off my screen, ads. So we're setting the screen here, right? Halliburton's coming over. If you chase him over, he's in attack mode now, right? And he's making somebody make a decision. Either the 4 is switching on to him, which in this case is going to be an OG Anunoby, so maybe they just like switch or something, or it's a Josh Hart. They might just switch it. That's going to be an interesting thing to see what they do. Or what might happen is he kicks it back out. Then if they switch, 4 drops down in Siakam. Now you have a mismatch that you can go after. It would be more so looking like this. But let's say in that ideal world, we're coming back to here. You set the screen. You go under him. He takes a 3-pointer. That's tough. You switch. Maybe what happens then, Siakam seals him. You hit him in a short corner pass here, or a short... not a short corner pass, a short little pocket pass there. And now he's operating here where he wants to work. This is where Siakam wants to work. If he gets by, presumably a Jalen Brunson, which he probably gets by him, Hartenstein's got to come over and help, right? Miles Turner, knockdown shooter from there. That's an absolute problem, right? So what do you do about that? Do you have to have him come over and help? Do you have to sag off somebody else? Because Nembhard's been hitting as of late, so is Nesmith. So you kind of have an interesting dilemma there. But going back to this, the offensive rebounding versus the transition offense that these two teams really gravitate towards, I think is going to just be a really interesting thing to watch in this series, to be like, okay, maybe we won't offensive rebound as much, or maybe we need to attack the glass a little bit harder because these guys are just bullying us. Now, the difference between Indiana and like the Sixers is that like Siakam and Miles Turner are much more like traditional bigs that can go and rebound, as opposed to like what the Sixers had going on with like Embiid, who can't jump right now. Tobias Harris wasn't able to go do anything against these guys, and B-Ball Paul was just kind of like outsized. Whereas, like I said, the Pacers, Miles Turner, a lot of size, he can go rebound. Siakam's a good rebounder. Obi Toppin's big and strong. He can go get some things. So, you know, you got a little bit different conversation going on here. Maybe they don't have as much of a natural offensive rebounding advantage, but then I think about like Nesmith and Nembhard. Like, what happens when Hart and DiVincenzo are crashing or something like that, right? Like, somebody's got to box out OG Anunoby as well, and I'm just not sure that the Pacers guards can do that. Looking at matchups, though, we already kind of talked about the Hartenstein / Mitchell Robinson. Like, basically just replace these guys at any point. And how are they going to guard Miles Turner? Are they going to be comfortable out there on the perimeter? Because you got to go out there and guard him, right? Because he's hitting from there. And you have to make sure you close out well, because he can attack a lot better than Embiid can. Going to be a great one to watch. OG on Siakam, most likely. OG's a really good defender. Siakam, nice perimeter defender in himself. Like, OG's been hitting a ton of perimeter shots recently, right? Very timely ones at that, too. And honestly, I didn't think the Sixers did a good job of closing him out at all. I feel like they were trying to live with him shooting, and that's just... Nope, don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. So Siakam is probably the best matchup for him. I think he's going to be fine, but he's going to have to move around a lot more than he's used to. He's going to have to watch off-ball movements because OG's a really good cutter. Things to watch there. Nesmith and Josh Hart. Can Nesmith box out Josh Hart? I'm almost 99% sure he can't. I think that's going to be a huge disadvantage for them. As far as like how you guard Nesmith, I'm not too worried about him off the dribble or anything. I think Hart can guard him pretty well, and I think Nesmith's really going to struggle with that. DiVincenzo Nembhard, I think, is going to be interesting. Like, Nembhard's really impressed me so far. I wasn't too familiar with his game, in all honesty, like, for most of this season. But watching him play, man, he's just got a little bit of spunk to him. I don't know what it is. He's just got some nice confidence to him. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, but just out there getting it done. What can he do against DiVincenzo? Can he keep him off the three-point line? Hard to say. And now this point guard matchup is going to be crazy. Brunson versus Halliburton. Halliburton's got a lot more size to him, right? Like, he's about 6'5", maybe almost 6'6". Obviously, Brunson, nobody really stops Brunson, right? He gets his shot regardless, but is having a little bit of extra height in front of him, and someone that's a pretty solid defender in Halliburton. Going to be enough to maybe make him miss 2 or 3 more shots? Maybe. On the other end, how can Jalen Brunson be disruptive in making sure Tyrese Halliburton isn't getting everyone else set up and he's not getting a full head of steam to the rim to create for everyone else? I don't know. TJ McConnell versus Miles McBride, 2 little Energizer bunnies. Going to be really interesting. TJ McConnell's been really shooting the ball a little bit more as of late, with maybe only 1 game of true success with that, but still being a little more aggressive. Obi Toppin's coming out off a great game. I think that's going to be interesting to watch. And then Ben Shepherd's just kind of there to play full court defense on people to try to wear him down a little bit. I presume the Knicks stick with their 7-man lineup. That's what Thibs likes to do. If they do go to 8, I think it's either going to be Precious Achiuwa or maybe Alec Burks. That's kind of who I'm thinking they go to, if anybody. Probably Alec Burks more so because I think their forwards are pretty set here and they're even comfortable throwing Josh Hart at the 4. And Burks can just give him another scoring option, right? Which, like, they've got plenty of options, but I don't know. I think they've got some options to go to here. Maybe earlier in the series they'll go to 8, but I would presume it's mostly 7. If we look at how these 2 teams matched up this year, they played 3 times. The Pacers won 2 of them, and I remember watching actually all of these games. Just random thoughts that I had. I know Miles Turner played really well in all of them, and that's why I'm highlighting so much. Like, how are they actually going to guard them here? Like, when they get into this just real basic action that they do, how is this matchup going to take place? Right? Very, very curious about that. But Miles Turner was great in all of those matchups. These are the Pacers numbers, by the way. So they shot 35%. Oh no, they shot 47% from 3 on them. Knicks got to be a little bit better defensively, right? Like, giving up a little bit of size at times to these boys. So how are they going to guard them there? Got 40 rebounds a game, 30 assists. That's so many assists. Knicks defense is going to have to be a little bit better. Turnovers a little bit high as well, and a plus-minus of 8. If we go over to New York's side, how'd they do? They have not shot well against the Pacers, which is really interesting to look at. Completely out-rebounded them, though, didn't they? What was the number here? Rebounds 39 versus 44. Yeah, no, they out-rebounded them there for sure. A lot less turnovers, but a ton less assists. And that makes sense, depending on, or because of how both teams play. Makes a ton of sense. So are the Knicks going to be able to hit enough 3-pointers to keep up with Indiana? Are they going to be able to slow them down? That's the question. I personally think, and I've said this in other videos, I don't think the Pacers' game plan is hard to game plan for. Like, the Pacers keep it really simple. They get out and run in transition. They run very basic pick and roll, play concepts and everything. They really only have like 2 or 3 sets that they really go to. They just do them, and they do them really well. So I think if a team really just settles in on, like, okay, what are our coverages going to be, right? If we get back on defense or something like that, right? Make sure they don't get out in transition. I think that they're going to be just fine, right? And I think the Knicks with Tom Thibodeau, more than capable of doing that. And I honestly think the offensive rebound is going to kind of really push Indiana down, and it's really going to get them out of rhythm, and I think it's really going to throw them off. So with that being said, I'm going to take the Knicks in this series. Give me the Knicks in like 5, honestly. I don't think this is a great matchup for Indiana. I could be completely wrong. They've got some really good players on this team, but I just don't think that they're going to be able to match up well against that offensive rebounding, and I think that the Knicks are just going to be able to keep playing the way they want to play. I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana goes and drops like 120 on them at some point, but I don't know. Give me the Knicks in 5 and quote me on this. I'm probably wrong on every series, but that's what I'm seeing for right now. But just want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win this series? And yeah, look out for an ideal offseason coming out later today. Thanks so much, y'all. Bye.